People that are just joining us on the Bull Crew podcast with Mario Hair, Dave Pele, Josh Pele. Chargers just won. It was eventful. It was nerve-wracking. A couple panic attacks. Shirts came off. Underwear was off. I haven't worn underwear this whole show, if I'm being completely honest with you guys. Been in my PJs. And it's, the PJs got bigger and got smaller, if you guys catching my drift on this one. But holy hell. What's the heart rate at right now, Josh?
Oh, through the roof, man. That was the best game. When's the last time we've had a game like that where we actually win at the end?
That's a good point, where we actually won at the end and didn't lose it, and we come on here ready to punch a hole through the wall.
Unbelievable, man. Justin Herbert, monkey off the back, culture change, whatever you want to call it. Do you think this is bigger for him or the team? I think this is almost the biggest thing that's happened in Justin Herbert in his career. He finally probably feels like I can win these games when they matter. The Chargers have won games with him as quarterback that were close, but I never thought the Chargers were much of a threat. This is a playoff team. This is a playoff team who beat a team in the Cincinnati Bengals that are pretty good. I mean, they're not a great team, but they have a really good offense, and Justin Herbert was not good in the second half, but he did enough to win at the end. It was great.
A playoff team loses that game. They let a team come back and they lose. A championship team, I don't know, the championship team doesn't let them come back. A playoff team pulls it out, wins, and that's what they did tonight. And yeah, I agree with you. The Bengals, obviously, they're not a playoff team, but they're a pretty talented team led by a top quarterback in the league, and you were able to pull them out, and you're able to hold them off, and you're able to win the game. Staley wouldn't have been able to do this 4 years ago. Anthony Lynn's dumbass wouldn't have been able to do this. Harbaugh's able to do this, Dave. I mean, let's freaking go. That's the part. I think the Falcons game, when Dave said he would walk from Atlanta, I think that was the last game where they won that was close like this, right?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It wasn't fun. I'll tell you what. I mean, it was like we're trying to say we're making a statement. Watch this. We're going to blow this team out. And then, we go into halftime and we're all excited. Good man, this team is playing great. And then I think we all, even us, I mean, as fans, you kind of take your foot off the gas and going, we're just going to run the clock out. We're going to do what we've been doing. We're going to continue to score points. We can do anything we want in the first half. Second half, couldn't do anything. You could point the finger at a bunch of different people on why it wasn't working, whether it was the play calling, whether it was Justin Herbert. Let's be honest. Justin Herbert didn't look like Justin Herbert. As much as we complimented him in the first half and said right now he's playing the best quarterback of anybody in the league for the last month, he was one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL in the second half. And so you're sitting there stressing out going, what kind of team is this? Josh always uses, your identity. The identity at the end is this team was able to pull it together and get a win. 34-27, they're able to get a win. A lot of people, East Coast, because I know, Mario, you're East Coast time. How many people said, hey, I got work tomorrow. This game's over. I'm going to bed now. Turn the TV off. I mean, if you were to turn it on and find out that, the Bengals could have won that game, you're going, what the hell just happened? But the fact that it was 34-27, unless you watch the game and you just see the score, you're going to think, well, the Bengals made a run. That's it. You don't realize how that game went. I mean, right up until the last minute and a half, that was anybody's game.
Oh, 100% is anybody's game. The first time the Chargers have scored over 30 and gave up over 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting the way it worked out. They're showing Ladd McConkey in the postgame doing an interview. He had 6 catches for 123 yards. To me, he's the guy you go to every single time. Josh Palmer and QJ show their old ways. I mean, Josh Palmer, to me, huge disappointment, right? QJ has had a better season this year, but for him to go back to not extending his arms, not making the plays when you need him, it's going to be hard to trust a guy like that in the playoffs or in this game next week against the Ravens.
I think this game clearly showed that when things get tough, it's got to be Ladd. And that's it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Palmer, we've been waiting on the Palmer breakout season forever now, and it's just not going to happen anymore. He is what he is. He's reached the limit of his abilities, or the maximum of his abilities. We know what he is. Ladd's the guy that when it's time to win the football game, he's got to be out on the field, and he's got to be the guy we look forward to. And Quinn Johnson, man, there's still some growing pains in there that need to be done. But I'm just happy, Dave, that at least we can say Herbert won us this game. Almost lost us this game, but did win
in 3 different ways. I mean, let's be honest. There are 2 terrible passes and a fumble, which turned into 7 points for Cincinnati. 100%. If they lost the game, you're saying you could put this on Justin Herbert. And I don't know, Justin Herbert gets a pass. Nobody ever wants to blame Justin Herbert for anything. But there are a couple things in there. You know, Joshua Palmer, there's that quote that everybody has read a million times. When people show you who they are, it's time to believe them, you know? And that's what Joshua Palmer is. That's where I was at coming into the season. I wanted to see this guy do well. I watched him play in college, but he's just not that guy. He's had one career game, and that was when they faced the Falcons in Atlanta a few years ago. That was his game, the one that he'll talk about the rest of his life. Otherwise, he's never been that guy that has stepped up to be the one you rely on. When he needed a big-time catch, he couldn't do it, and he had an opportunity. That wasn't Herbert's fault. That was his fault. And Quentin Johnson, man, if I was the wide receivers coach, and I'm sure that he has great coaches, dude, you got to go after every ball like you're the only guy on the field. That's just the way it is. It's a mindset. What's the difference between him and every great wide receiver? It's not. His speed is with everybody. His height is God-given. But at the same time, dude, you don't play the game like you own the field. Every one of these elite receivers, Justin Jefferson, St. Brown, every one of these guys plays the game like, hey, I'm the only guy on the field, and it's my ball to catch. I own that ball. He's passive, man. It's frustrating as hell. He's a passive player.
It's frustrating. It's definitely frustrating. And we would definitely want to be positive in a win, but you have to look at this Chargers team, Mario, and say, what do we have going forward that can be a threat to other teams? QJ, to me, is just not a guy you can rely on consistently. Today, he has 2 catches on 8 targets. You have Will Disley. To me, Mario, honest to God, Will Disley to me is the second biggest receiving threat on this team. That's just what it is. Will Disley has 4 catches for 80 yards, whiffs on a ball at the end there, which was weird. But Ladd McConkey, 6 catches, 123 yards. And then J.K. Dobbins really didn't do much in the first half. Gus Edwards was the lead back for almost, I think it was every drive in the first half. He was the lead back. Even in the third quarter, I think he started the first drive, and then he never got the ball again. J.K. Dobbins finishes, though, with 11 carries, 56 yards, 2 touchdowns. Last one puts the game on ice. What's your takeaway? Besides, we talked about Justin Herbert. What do you think about the defense? They gave up over 20 points, but they played against a really good offense.
My biggest takeaway is I think Cam Hart's going to be our number 1 corner for probably the next 4 years, easily. I as soon as he was off this field, it was very noticeable, and it changed how the team played, and it changed what the Bengals were able to do. And going in kind of that direction with our young guys, a little bit of the welcoming party of here's Tuli. Okay, 1.5 sacks. I would give him 2 tonight. Had a couple pressures, made a couple big tackles in space too. He had a big spy on Burrow too, where they kind of forced Burrow to force something to chase that wasn't really there. He is everything we thought he'd be when Chargers drafted him and more. I mean, I couldn't be happier with him. And let's be honest, supposed to look like he was running cement at some moments when he was chasing Burrow. Tuli stepped up for us in so many different ways. He was the star of the night, in my opinion. Like the guy, the flawless game was Tuli's.
No, I couldn't agree with that more. I mean, Tuli was super impressive. I mean, Josh said at the beginning of the game, if you didn't know anyone on the Chargers, who would you say, hey, I'm now aware of that guy. Tuli is that guy. Well, if Mac's on the field, it's a little bit different. I'm sure you're getting a little bit more pressure. Look, I know I take a lot of shots at Joey Bosa, this and that, but I'm telling you right now, as a guy that loves football, loves this game, he doesn't have it. He's not able to do it, whether it's through injuries or age or just whatever. It kind of reminds you, this is sad, but it reminds you kind of like Mike Tyson. Like, it's right there. We can all see what you need to do, what you can do. But it has to be frustrating for imagine a person like him who is always able to get to the quarterback, whereas you don't need a double team, Joey. It's one guy can stop him. I mean, Joey would sit there, and there are a couple times, I don't know if you guys noticed, he couldn't even get into a stance. Like he was on his way down to get into a stance, and then the ball snapped, and he's winded, and his legs aren't moving the way they're supposed to move, and he's not only is he a half a step slow, he's like 2 steps slow, and it's just there's nothing there. I mean, all the talk as far as how much money he makes and is he an asset to the team? Does he earn his paycheck? Right now, he's a hindrance to this team. Having Khalil Mack on the team and being able to play along with Tuli, it's a much better defense.
Khalil Mack and Tuli are obviously our 2 best pass rushers. We're looking at Jim Harbaugh right now, talking to the team in the locker room. I just love what he does for this team. If they would have screwed it up, I would have been, talking about how he blew it for us. But so the way I look at the defense, Mario, is Derwin James is still the best defender we have, my opinion. Then you have Tuli, number 2. Then I think you have Henley and Cam Hart. Those are 4 guys that seem like they show up every single game. Joey Bosa had so many plays where he just swipes at Burrow, can't make the tackle. If you have Khalil Mack and Tuli out there, I feel very comfortable. Without Khalil Mack, I thought it was obvious that this team didn't have a lot in the second half. Morgan Fox, I don't know why he wasn't in almost every play in the second half. The interior defensive line was getting blown past. Chase Brown had a really big second half as well. We want to talk about the positive, but also the negative. Jasir Taylor, no business being on the football field for the Chargers ever. He should never be out there. Christian Fulton made some good plays at the end, but he was struggling as well. I think this defense has some explaining to do it in some points. I think there's a lot of guys that kind of disappeared when it mattered the most.
Taylor was easily just buddy. Like, my Lord. He was a tough. You mentioned Fulton. He really struggled. Came, down the stretch, looked a lot better and came up in bigger moments. So he kind of bounced back in it. But yeah, I think this is worrisome, guys, because it's like the first time we saw the defense kind of take a big hit, right? Like, they gave up 27 points. And then, let's be honest, it should be about 6 more.
Oh, yeah.
Goals.
Evan McPherson, 100%.
Yeah. So
he hurt the Bengals. I mean, if the Chargers would have won that game, honestly, by just 3, let's say it wasn't JK scoring that touchdown at the end. I mean, you don't point fingers, but dude, you're getting on that airplane. It's a long flight back to Cincinnati if you're Evan McPherson, right? And then you're sitting there going, man, I'm the smallest guy on this airplane right now. And every one of these guys wants to beat the crap out of me, knowing it's my fault. J.K. Dobbins obviously scoring that touchdown maybe makes things a little bit easier for him. But I'll say this in defense of the defense. It sounds a ridiculous sentence, but I'll say this: they were on the field a lot. The time of possession had a favor Cincinnati like crazy in the second half. I don't have it in front of me, but we talked about, hey, can we put a drive together to give these guys a little bit of win? Then we'd kick the ball off to them or punt it off to them, and a lot of times they're starting from the 10, 12-yard line. So that defense is on the field for like almost 90 yards and just play after play. And in defense of them, they probably the most talented offense the Chargers are going to face, right? I mean, weapon for weapon. I mean, T. Higgins is elite. I mean, he is really elite. Jamar Chase is right there with Justin Jefferson as being the best in the league. Joe Burrow's not a joke. They got a serious running game. I mean, there's a lot that goes on to that Cincinnati offense that is tough for almost any team to stop. So to our defense, and Jesse Minter probably is very frustrated driving home tonight going, how the hell did that happen? It's easy to see how it happened. You had guys that were exhausted. You had guys that were injured that would normally be on the field. And then at the same time, the Chargers are holding on for their lives. This is one where you're looking at the Chargers offense and going, you let the defense down and put them in a bad spot.
Yeah, I agree. At one point we read the time possession. I think it was coming into the third quarter. At that time, the Bengals had 22 minutes of time of possession. Chargers had 21. So that's obviously horrible math. That's into the fourth quarter probably. Bengals ended up with 34 minutes time of possession. Chargers had 25. So in that time span, the Bengals basically had the ball. It seemed like the whole second half. Chargers could not move the ball. Third down efficiency, Bengals were 5 for 17. Chargers were 3 for 11. Neither team was great. Justin Herbert in the first half, Mario, looked like the best quarterback in the NFL, right? We're talking about we need to put him in the MVP conversation. And then the second half, the whole team melts down. Do you think that's more of a Justin Herbert problem, or do you think that's more of the receiving core?
I mean, if Herbert doesn't have that fumble when we're inside the 20 of Cincinnati, how does this game end, right? Like, we probably score there, and then Cincinnati's just chasing from there. Then they have to go down. Let's say they, maybe if they score, but then we can just run out the clock.
They're in field goal range when he fumbled. The Chargers were going to score, yep.
Yeah, it would have been 3 or 7 guaranteed. And Dave, you mentioned it earlier, and it was like in so many different ways. He like won us this game and like almost lost us this game at the same time. We're like, if McPherson misses that kick, we're talking about that fumble for how long? You know what I mean? So it is on Herbert. I think it's on the team as a whole. Also, I think something to factor into it though is that Bengals is a team that is known for coming back, is known for a second half, down but not out. Like, they're known for that. Burrow's known for that. So I don't want to ignore that factor either.
No, I'm with you. I'm glad the game ended obviously the way it did with the Chargers winning. I mean, Justin Herbert, the whole season we've saying this is a guy as a one-man show that has to pull a rabbit out of his hat every single game because he doesn't have the weapons other quarterbacks have. To have the fumble that would come down to say that's what cost us the game would have been, tough because you're like, the guy who gives it all, he's the one. He's the one that that is the guy that turned it over. Turnovers in every sport is obviously big. It doesn't matter the sport. In baseball, the team that makes the most errors usually is going to lose. But the only thing with turnovers that throw you off is, and it's an interesting stat, you just don't know when they're going to happen, right? It's one thing to say you turn the ball over, but there are costly turnovers. And whenever a guy turns the ball over and it returns into 7 points, it's gigantic. And so, for Herbert, I'm sure he's probably, saying big sigh of relief. That wasn't on me. We got out of this deal. How much do you put on, Greg Roman here? I mean, you could see in the second half, for some reason, Justin Herbert had a really hard time throwing the out pattern. At the same time, the Bengals cornerbacks made some pretty good routes to him. But, you look at Joe Burrow, he did not have a hard time throwing the outs. And Justin Herbert will probably tell you, I can play better than what I played today. He did not look elite in the second half as a quarterback. At the same time, the pass to Ladd McConkey at the end was about as big as they get. That was huge for both guys, for a young receiver and also for Justin Herbert to say, my arm's not a noodle arm back there.
Well, I think a big part of that too is Ladd McConkey high points the ball, right? So the first pass, Ladd McConkey goes up and gets it. I think that gave Justin Herbert confidence. This guy's going to make a play for me, right? And the next play, he's wide open and Justin Herbert hits it. But Justin Herbert also had Ladd McConkey, I believe it was the drive before then, wide open, and he overthrew him. So, I mean, obviously, you like the Chargers, capitalize on bad defense by the Bengals. They're 7-3. If you were to tell us at the beginning of the season, the Chargers would ever be 7-3, we'd be happy with that. Next week, we have the Ravens, which is going to be a huge game as well. But you got to take care of these teams that come into your stadium. I understand that Joe Burrow has never beat Justin Herbert, but the past is the past. I mean, if you're talking about the Chargers in the past, you never expect them to win this game either, right? Chargers would always lose these games when they come down to the end. They showed the graphic, right? The Chargers have lost the last 10 games decided by 3 points. This is a new team, man. New culture, but there's also players that aren't on this team, Mauro, that I know we can't look to next season, but there's certain guys on this team, and you say, hey, you're not going to be there next year. We're going to have an upgrade, specifically in the interior offensive line. That is just a huge weak spot for this team. Do you think the Chargers could actually beat the Ravens and these other playoff teams with an interior offensive line like the Chargers have now?
I think they can beat the Ravens because that secondary is so brutal. It's not the Ravens defense of last year where they just dominated everyone. It's not them. I think they can do that. I think that defense can be good enough to slow down Lamar Jackson. My worry is that maybe something like this happens where we really let up. Because this Bengals defense too, guys, was bottom of the league in points allowed in the second half. And how many points did we put up in the second half in total? 10. That's not come on. That's not good enough. So that's what worries me with this. I think it's doable because in this, Dave, and I would argue that I would know this better than most. I've been on the wrong side. I've been kicked in the nuts. I've been punched in the face. I've been, everything in betting the Ravens, and the fourth quarter hits, and they just take the cover and they shove it up right my upstairs. So they're gonna give you an opportunity to win as well.
Yeah, it's funny. I asked you during the game, if you weren't with us during the game, I asked Mario, do you know what the spread is for next week's Ravens-Charger game? And you said the Ravens were favored by 3. I could see it. I mean, now I can understand that line. At the same time, I wouldn't bet that game for the Ravens. I don't think the Ravens cover that 3. I'd still have faith in this Charger team. This was one of those games I think scares you a little bit enough where you're going to go, we got to fix our loose ends. We know where the issue is. And we've said it before. We talk about playoff games and how bad you want to beat them. Look, there's no way Jim Harbaugh wants to lose to his brother. I mean, he knew coming back to the NFL, I get a chance to face John again. He didn't know it was going to be this year, but he gets a chance to face his brother. There's nothing he would want more heading into Thanksgiving week than to stick it to John.
100%, man. This is definitely going to be the biggest game of the season next week. I think the betting odds during the game was -3 or -3 Ravens. That's still true. Have you looked into that?
I just pulled it up right here. Ravens favored by 1.5.
1.5.
Wow. How do you feel about that? A guy that gambles.
1.5. I would take the Ravens because of that line. If it hits 3, I think if it's 3 or more, you take Chargers. You don't think twice about it. I'd also take the under. The over-under right now is 47. I really like that under.
Really?
Yeah, I love that under, actually. And I'd be really careful Or I'd really pay attention to if Cam Hart's able to play next week. And Mac. If Mac and Hart are able to play next week, I would probably take the Chargers no matter what.
Okay, how many guys on the Chargers, just on the roster, want to stick it to the Ravens too? It's not just Jim. It's not Joe Ortiz. It's just J.K. Dobbins. There's Gus. I mean, there's major Baltimore connections on this Los Angeles Charger team. And there has to be something inside of you that goes, I got to prove they made a mistake by letting me change uniforms.
Greg Roman
J.K.
too.
Dobbins specifically?
All of them. Every one of them. Gus, all of them.
Greg wants to.
No, Greg does 100%.
Yeah.
Right? He was the ultimate embarrassment.
I think this is the Gus Edwards game again. I mean, I don't know why they didn't go back to him in the second half. I didn't see an injury from Gus Edwards. Obviously, J.K. Dobbins is your lead back, but like I said earlier, Gus Edwards was leading every single drive out of the backfield. So I don't know what the situation is there. Greg Roman obviously wants to stick it, to the other team. So I don't know. I just don't know what the Chargers do going forward with these game plans, because it seems like you really have one receiver out there. QJ can catch the wide open passes, but so can Dave. And Dave's not getting paid to play in the NFL. So I just don't know what the game plan is going to be, how you scheme this up against a really good team. Because if you're the Ravens or any other team that's going to play the Chargers, it has to be locked down on Ladd. Locked down on Ladd, and you're going to trust that your defense can shut down Josh Palmer, QJ, Will Disley, and the other guys. So it's going to be interesting going forward. We have a ton of super chats tomorrow. Do you mind if we get to these?
Yeah, let's burn through them. Shout out to everyone too for commenting. We love you.
Yeah, make sure you while we're talking to you, make sure you subscribe and like the show. We appreciate it.
Big time. All right, this is the first one.
$5 from Alana Moore. Thank you, Alana. It says, this is just a wipe the sweat off my brow. Dab up. I will take a breath now. Thanks for hosting. We had a great time doing the live show. This is the first time we actually were in sync watching the game at the same time.
Yeah, the three of us were obviously we timed our televisions up. Some of you guys were ahead of where we were also. Alana, appreciate the super chat, but Josh said at the end is, I think I might have a heart attack. Like, I mean, it felt like we were that stressed out as far as watching something that you can't control.
I have a headache. That's all I got. And my wallet's more filled. My heart's filled. My wallet's not filled, but we recovered from Saturday. And I have a headache.
Next one comes from Angie Barr, $9.99. Thank you, Angie. It says, we didn't charge it. Do you think a win like this could change a culture? Just one win, or do you think it takes more than that?
I do. I mean, we want to see what you're going to be like in a close game, right? Because the playoffs are going to be close games. This is right here felt like a playoff game. What are you made out of? I think Jim's thinking the same thing. The best thing that come out of this is this was a high-stake game where everybody's watching national TV. This wasn't a 105 start against the Saints. This was a big damn deal. And Jim's like, my players learned something. They were educated today. They understood.
I think confidence builder too, right? Like, it's confidence to all the guys that are on the teams like the past 2 years. Like, hey, we can win these games. We don't always have to lose them.
Yeah, no. I think Jim Harbaugh is the one that brings the different culture. Just by him being there, lifting weights with the guys. Do you see that? In his khakis and no shirt on? Crazy. Next one comes from Sergio Chavez, $4.99. Thank you, Sergio. Appreciate that. Next one comes from Alan, $1.99. He says, up next, the Harbaugh Bowl. So you guys mentioned Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins, Greg Roman, obviously the Harbaugh connection. Does it mean a lot to other guys on the team, you think?
I think the guys get addicted to winning. Like, let's keep this thing going. And you understand the Ravens are a playoff team. If you see the Ravens again this year, it's in the postseason. I mean, there's a very good chance.
I think it carries weight. Like, hey, we're beating a top contender. It's like beating, not Chiefs. It's like beating the Bills. It's like that matters.
I think it matters a lot. I think the players respect Jim Harbaugh so much. I think they're just going to play a little bit harder even for him.
The other thing is this is a primetime game, right? They got flexed into this primetime game. This is more of a reason why when the schedule comes out next year, networks are fighting for the Chargers.
Yeah.
So not only is Justin Herbert a show, but Jim Harbaugh is obviously a show. And you go, we want to be part of that. You're allowed at most 5 primetime games a year. The Cowboys obviously always max out. But the Chargers are one of those teams where, you got to stick them on primetime. That's what it used to be in the past. Everyone gets their shot. But the Chargers, when you watch a game like this, and NBC guarantee you couldn't be happier as far as what just happened tonight. This is reason why the Chargers should fill out their card next year of getting 5 primetime games.
Yeah. Well, last year they didn't deserve it.
No.
Remember the game against the Ravens was one of the worst games of the season. You don't want to watch a team like that. This year they deserve it.
And that ESPN Plus thing was underhand BS.
It was. All right, next one comes up from Tim. I shouldn't even read it. This is $4.99. It says Justin needs to get some women down on Figueroa Street for Lad tonight. Bolt up, baby.
All right, that's good.
I think he's engaged, but hey, whatever he
Is he
wants.
engaged?
I think he is. I have
All
a
right.
girlfriend.
The girls on Figueroa Street aren't not safe.
Yeah, maybe Justin needs it. Is he single? Yeah. Okay. Next one comes from Antoine Whalen, $1. Thank you, Antoine. Next one also comes from Antoine. It says Henley was on point also. I mean, Henley is a guy, I said a couple shows ago, he's underrated, Mario. People across the nation do not know who he is. And maybe tonight they watched the game and they noticed. He didn't make a lot of splashy plays, but he made the plays he needed to make, right? He had 11 tackles tonight. Last week he had 15. The week before that, 14. The week before that, 11. He's been really consistent.
Brandon Staley doesn't know who he is.
He had key pressures tonight too. He got in Burrow's face when we needed it. So huge step for Henley. And again, man, that guy, I hope he gets the Pro Bowl nod this year. I really do.
I would love that.
I mean, right now the Chargers are the number one team. Looking at it right now, the Chargers are the number one team in the wild card. So they're the highest you could be is number 5. They're number 5. Ravens are 6. Broncos are 7. That's where they'd be right now. So pretty good shape, right? So if I'm not mistaken, Josh, the Chargers would open at the Houston Texans.
Yeah, I believe so. The Chargers actually have the 4th best record in all the AFC.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
By the way, thanks for updating your graphics. The Chiefs have a loss.
Yeah, what are we doing?
We're watching local NBC right now. They still have the Chiefs as undefeated.
I can't even trust this graphic anymore.
Right now.
Next one comes from the Sledja, $4.99. He says both Henley and Cam Hart had some nice solid hits. That's something we haven't seen in a while. That is a great point. Henley makes the plays, right? We just said that. Cam Hart will knock your head off. I love that. When's the last time the Chargers have had a corner that will hit somebody? Never, right? No. Never happens. Cam Hart is Pro Bowl level good on this team.
And he's going to get better. And he's built like a great corner.
Yeah, and he's confident, right? That's the biggest thing. Cornerbacks, you got to believe in yourself. It looks like what he's doing out there. He doesn't look lost at all.
That might go down as one of the best Charger draft picks of all time.
Yeah, 5th round. Amazing. Yeah. Next one comes from Mike, $9.99. Thank you, Mike. He says, we won a game after choking for 28 straight minutes in the second half. Cannot believe it.
Yeah, I can't believe it either. We did. I mean, I don't know if that's good or bad, but we haven't seen it as fans. We haven't seen that forever, right? This is 100% a game you go, as a Charger supporter, I've seen this inning a million times, and it never ends up the way it did tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Justin Herbert needed that more than anybody. This next one comes from Ryan Culpepper. This is a good point. I mean, we've been dragging the defense, but the offense is really the ones that didn't help them at all. Ryan Culpepper for $5 says the D gave up that many because the offense kept putting them back out there.
I agree.
Yeah, you're
great
gassed.
point.
I mean, how are you going to guard Jamar Chase and T. Higgins even when you're not tired, Mario?
And especially when you have a guy like Burrow, where so many times in this game, Higgins would turn and the ball was just in his face, right? Like Burrow is so quick on it, was so right on time in every throw. You keep putting your defense out there when they keep getting you stops, you know, they're going to be dead. Especially like that final 2 minutes, us giving them another chance to win that game. Crazy.
And Burrow's great. I mean, again, I don't want to, this is not a shot at Mahomes, but you watch Mahomes a lot and you're going, this is the best ever to do it, right? Everyone wants to crown him and say how good he is. How good would the Chiefs be with the Joe Burrow? Do they miss a step?
Ooh.
I mean, Joe Burrow is really freaking good, man.
He's really good. I'm looking at his stats right now. 356 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, rush for 28 yards.
Takes a lot of hits.
A lot of hits. Justin Herbert takes a lot of hits too. Justin Herbert had not as many as Joe Burrow, but he does take a lot of hits. 297 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. Led the team in rushing. I know somebody that bet on his rushing yards today, Mario. He had 65 on 5 carries.
It's going to be so good to log in and you just see the count, be back to normal. Like, oh, yes.
All right, Mario, I'm going back to you on this one. This one comes from Antoine, $2. It says, okay, boys, we're 7-3. Who do you give the game ball to tonight?
Tuli and Lad. 2 guys to give the ball to. Right away.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, I don't
That's
disagree.
Good call. I like that.
Yeah. Is Tuli a captain? Does he have the C?
No.
He doesn't? He should.
Neither does Hendrickson from the Bengals. He doesn't have a C.
How's that possible?
I don't know. I'm sitting there watching him sitting on the bench next to some guy who had the C and he didn't have a C.
And McPherson had the C. I always think it's funny when the kickers are a captain.
Yeah.
All right, next one comes from Austin, $5. It says, bolt up, bolt. All right, it says, bolt up, bolt crew. What a game. I mean, best game of the season, easily. When was the last time you weren't here? But when was the last time the Chargers had a thrilling win like that?
Dude, I'd have to go all the way back to the playoffs where they beat the Ravens. All the way back then.
With
Do you remember-
Rivers,
remember that
when he
with Rivers?
ran for it.
Yeah, seriously. I'd have to go all the way back to that one because if you remember, that was the 2018 season. The Ravens beat the Chargers in Los Angeles, and then during the playoffs, the Chargers go to Baltimore and win.
Yeah,
What about
That's
the last
crazy
time we
it's that
beat the
long.
Chiefs?
I'm sorry.
Last time we beat the Chiefs?
That's not bad either. Beating the Chiefs today was different. Again, a national televised game, Sunday Night Football. I'd go with tonight. I'd go tonight just because even if they were to blow them out, I probably wouldn't have said tonight. Let's say it continued like the way it was in the first half. The fact they held it together and were able to get a win at the end, I think was big.
Yeah, huge. Next one comes from Playmaker 10X 199. It says, both the F up. Love this show. Winners win, even if it's ugly. Of course.
Yeah.
I don't think it was ugly. I think Mario said this earlier. He said, if you guys get, or if we get into a shootout, do you think it fares well for the Chargers? And I said, no. It did. I mean, 34-27, that's a shootout.
Yeah. I did not think it was going to go that way at all.
No.
At all. Wow.
All right. Next one comes from Vincent Jenner, $10. You think he's related? Kylie Jenner?
No.
No? Okay. Finalists for Lattimore should have pushed harder. Yeah, I mean, you don't envision that Asante Samuel Jr. is going to be out for much longer. You have 4 cornerbacks on this team. Usually Christian Fulton plays a little bit better, but it looked like he might still be injured.
I think you're right. I think he's definitely banged up. The fact he's even out there is big.
Yeah, and let's see, how soon Lattimore returns and how healthy he is. I could see that.
Yeah,
maybe
I'm cool with
buying
I'm cool with the
back.
corners we have now. We have
Yeah,
4
same.
guys. We should be all right. Next one comes from Kelvin Gaddis, $10. Thank you, Kelvin. Says, I was born into being a Chargers fan. My dad and I have watched them since as long as I can remember. I've never been as hyped to be a Charger fan as I am now. Love your show, guys. Appreciate y'all.
I think a lot of people feel the same way. They've never been hyped more than to be a Charger fan right now. As I said, I spoke to someone during the game that was in SoFi Stadium, and they said as a season ticket holder, they've never seen the stadium the way it was today. Complete home field advantage, and at the same time, the loudest it's ever been.
Yeah, if you're at the game, let us know. How did you think it was? You guys were there in the stadium.
They're probably still trying to walk over that goddamn wooden bridge I was telling you about.
Next one literally goes into this. This one comes from Christian Roldan, 1999. Thank you, Christian. It says, favorite podcast, sitting in parking lot traffic, watching you guys go Bolts.
Oh, that's cool, man. Sorry, you're in
That's
traffic.
awesome.
That's awesome. Thank you, man. That's cool. I was wondering if do people pay attention to this show when they're leaving the game.
I would, right? How do you not listen to a post-game show?
Yeah,
Yeah, true.
Your favorite podcast or us?
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Why not us?
Yeah, why not us?
That's what our
Yeah.
t-shirts say.
Yeah. Anything else, Mario?
Losing Harbaugh gets a wedgie from the other.
Dude, that they would 100% do it.
At midfield.
100% do it.
I would love to see their post game handshake. It's gonna be very funny. It's gonna be very intense.
Dude, yeah. It's like no one has made the post-game handshake unique like Jim Harbaugh has throughout his NFL or college coaching career too. Right? I mean, the whole deal with Pete Carroll, what's your deal? It's
So great.
It's nuts, man, right? I mean, all that stuff was crazy. The fact he takes it to the NFL. Who was the guy on the Lions that he that almost got in a full fight with?
It's not Jeff Schwartz, is it?
No, what
His
was it, Jim
name?
Schwartz?
Jim
Was it
Schwartz.
Bolton?
It might have been Jim Schwartz.
It's something like that.
Oh my god, dude! It was so crazy
It was
and
Jim
uncomfortable,
Schwartz.
but fun to watch from the outside. And you're just going, "This guy's a psycho." Like Harbaugh's the kind of guy that would go to the beach on boogie board with khakis on.
Yeah. We're talking about during the live show during the game. He told the team he remembers the day he was born.
Which is the craziest thing anybody has ever said.
Have you heard this story of when him and Jim and John were like on the beach and like in the ocean with like their kids?
Yeah, and Jim tried to drown him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
It's
hilarious.
nuts. He's a psycho.
Crazy. Next one. Sorry, we have another comment here, Mario.
You got
This one comes from Twisted Dame, 499. It says, what a heart attack of a game, boys. Love the show. What do we need to do to fix the second half stalls? What do you think, Mario?
be more aggressive. I had to play calling be a lot more aggressive. I think sometimes when we come out, I've said this multiple times, but like it seems like the play calling is like, let's just control the clock a little bit. And to me, it's like, hey, let's not worry about that right away. Let's take a little risk now. Let's do a little bit of this, let's do a little bit of that. And I think too, come out of the second half with a little bit more fire. I feel like too many times, Dave, we come out and it's like a quick 3 and out, defense out on the field. You know what I mean? Like I just have a bigger punch on that first drive. Both ways.
It's funny if you're a college basketball fan, especially, you see it all the time. But teams that stop playing to win and play not to lose, it's frustrating. As a fan, it's frustrating because you can feel the momentum, you can feel it shift, right? All three of us, we said before, we're big North Carolina fans. How many times have we seen North Carolina with a big lead against Duke, and then they play not to lose in the second half, and then Duke catches up, and it's frustrating. It happens all the time, and you see it with your favorite NBA team, but you see it in the NFL too. And I don't know if you see it with a lot of teams, but tonight we definitely saw it with the Chargers. I mean, halftime is fast, unless it's the Super Bowl. Halftime is super fast. Like all three of us ran off. I think Josh grabbed something to eat. I just went to the restroom, came back, and boom, the third quarter starting. So you got to think, how much time do those guys have by the time they're in the locker room, use the restroom, coach says whatever, and then they go out there. They were 100% lost their game plan. The momentum, everything that worked so well turned into let's just play not to lose. And next thing you know, the Bengals are on them.
What is their game plan? What is the recipe for success? You guys say be aggressive, go to the guys.
The score is 0-0.
Who are you going to? Who are you going with?
I'm going to the offense and going, guys, we're going to keep things going. Foot's on the gas. We aren't changing a damn thing. We're going to keep calling the plays we've been calling. We're not going to sit there and look at that clock. We're playing the game like it's 0-0. Our goal today is to get to 60 points.
I think you should always play like it's 0-0. I think the Chargers recipe for success, Mario, is J.K. Dobbins, right? He only had 11 carries today, but it looks like he might have been banged up, right? Because he didn't start the game. And then you have Ladd McConkey. Besides that, I don't know what is considered successful for the Chargers. They haven't had a proven game plan with any other people. I mean, Quentin Johnston, I understand that he had the touchdown. 2 for 8. Is that bad? Not good. 2 for 8, man. You have
to go against him. Who's the other number one, Jamar Chase?
Okay.
What was this?
Thanks for bringing that up. T. Higgins, 9 for 13, 148 yards and a touchdown. Jamar Chase, 7 catches on 13 targets, 75 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then we have Ladd McConkey and a bunch of guys. Will Disley, like I said earlier, second on the team in yards and 80. That cannot be, the go forward plan is Will Disley to, be second on yards. That's not the plan. He's the blocking tight end.
No, I can't.
Crazy. You have any other ones?
No, that's it.
Hit them all right there. All right.
Yeah, that's all.
All right. So we're going to be back on Tuesday, right? 1 o'clock Pacific time. It's late where you are, Mario. It's after 12:30 in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
So it's late. You got a headache. I'm starving, tired. I'm like, I go to bed right now. I'm so tired from this. This started to stress me out. But we're going to be back on Tuesday, 1 o'clock. Don't forget also Thursday, 1 o'clock. Get ready for the next game against the Ravens. And it'll be really exciting. Again, if you're tuned in right now and you haven't done it, please like the show, subscribe to the show. We appreciate it. I don't think you guys are listening because we can see how many people actually watch this episode. And it's weird how the thumbs never match the people that actually pay attention to the show. Go ahead.
I got one more. Right at the end here, it's $9.99 from Sneaker Flavors.
Nice.
Says we lost 10 games in a row by this margin. Tonight we broke that streak. Bolt the F up, or sorry, just bolt up. No F in there. We all know how the Bengals feel. They were us last year. It's our time. If we win the next 2 weeks, we're Super Bowl bound. Super Bowl bound. I like that too.
Super Bowl bound.
I like it. Yeah, it looks really good right now. I have on 3 losses. We look at through your standings tomorrow. Look and see how many teams have 3 losses or less. The Chargers are elite right now. They're playing really, really well. Especially when you think they had the 5th overall pick in the draft a year ago.
Crazy.
Pretty crazy. Not even a year ago. I mean, we saw it in April. it was just nuts to think where they're at. And look at the teams that were around them. Teams like the Giants, right? And you going, they haven't gotten much better. And you going at the same time, the Raiders haven't gotten better. The Chargers have made a big difference, man, by the hiring of Jim Harbaugh and what they're doing this year.
Are the Chargers the Houston Texans from last year? New coach, great draft?
Great call. 100%. I think the Chargers are the Texans from last year. That's a good call. Good comparison.
I think there's an NFL reporter from FS1 tweeted today that there's a lot of GMs that texted them kicking themselves that they didn't hire Harbaugh.
Oh, they should.
Why wouldn't you?
You know what? It's weird that Dean was the one that opened the checkbook up to do it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're the Raiders with Antonio Pierce looking for a new coach and a franchise quarterback and a million other pieces to try and figure out what's going on, the only thing the Raiders fixed was their tight end position. Sorry, but they got a real one. The one they drafted from Notre Dame's a stiff. Bowers is absolutely outstanding. But otherwise, man, Tom Telesco and the Raiders, they stink, right? The Giants, they stink. They're in a lot of trouble. And at the same time, you sit there and you break this thing down. I don't know if you guys saw that clip that was going around this weekend as we'll wrap up the show, but it was Todd McShay talking about Daniel Jones, saying this guy's a backup quarterback. He's not a starting quarterback, and he ripped the hell out of him coming out of college. A lot of guys like him. He's not it. Everything he said about him was exactly the way he played. The fact that the Chargers took Justin Herbert, and I'll tell you, I made a mistake. I didn't think Justin Herbert would be the player he is because he ran the ball so much at Oregon. He has completely surprised me. Super happy that he's wearing a Charger uniform. And now that you have that combination of star quarterback and star coach, and the sky's the limit for this organization.
Yeah, Chargers are 7-3, 4-1 at home. Mario, do you have any final thoughts?
Charger teams past 5 years wouldn't win this game. Horrible
Nope.
Charger team wins this game. That's my final thing.
Dude, I'd go further back than that. I hate to say it. Everyone will probably say the same thing, right? They aren't winning with they aren't winning it with Anthony Lynn. They aren't winning at Norv Turner. They aren't winning with any of these coaches. Mike McCoy. God dang it. Mike McCoy. The visor. They aren't winning with him. And I got news for you. Marty used to, clinch up. Who are we kidding?
Yeah.
Marty in the close games always turned into a disaster. I don't know when the last time this team would have won a game. It could have been 40 years ago. Don Coryell, maybe your best chance. But they have not had a coach like this. Hats off to Dean for finally saying, you know what, we got to make a change. This is not working. Big time stuff. All right, we'll get out of here. We'll be back on Tuesday again, 1:00. Thanks to everybody that stayed with us the entire night. It's been a lot of fun. Thank God they won. Otherwise, I said we're never doing this again because the Steelers game didn't go well at all. But that was good. Mario, thank you so much. I know it's late back there. Take some Tylenol, Advil, whatever it is. Get rid of that headache, and we'll be back. So for Mario Heron, Josh Palais, I'm Dave Palais. We'll see you Tuesday, 1:00 Pacific time.